Well, this is it. This is my life now.
I made a base. Aren't you proud of me? Oh.
And welcome back for the next episode in Iron Curtain Grades Our Shit. And as you've probably guessed, Duel finally built a base, and regrets, I have them. First and foremost, you may be wondering, well, these yucca plants here, you can't really do that naturally, so it looks like they cheated. And yeah, he did. He cheated on some yucca plants, but there's a method to the madness. To give you an idea of where this base is going, the yucca plants are there because of that. That's why there's yucca plants. And
Oh,
I
I
don't know if that's
never knew
brilliant. You're
that.
so full of shit. The idea behind this, coincidentally, was someone who proposed the same exact thing in the comments section earlier this week, was a base that would knock the Zeds off of a ledge using the robotic turrets, or as we're going to call them all night long, the Fisters. So we have 6 Fisters here set up on...
Mine's the Gift Master 6000.
Oh, dear fucking God.
Delete that one.
Yeah, which one is that, Nev? I'm going to hit that with a God Hammer. He got real
This is
quick
the one
real
he's
fast.
holding.
The
It's
one
the
he's
one he's
holding.
holding.
Oh, good, good. It's green. That's gross. So we've got 6 of the Fisters here. The idea being that the Zeds will come up, they'll hit this ramp, they'll track over here, and we have tested this. Then they get here, and they try to run across this narrow platform. As soon as they do this, the Fisters just light them the fuck up, and down they go. A couple of them will fall into the little side things here. Not too bad. They get that, they squirrel out the doorway cutouts on each side, and they loop back. The majority of them that get knocked off end up coming down here, and these are all turned on. So as they try to trundle their happy asses back out to the front of the ramps, they're getting carved to shit. It actually works out surprisingly effective, despite the fact that Duel built it and it's mostly around fisting. So, okay, what? What?
I was taking a breath.
The,
That's how he breathed after the fisting.
yeah, heavily.
What stays in the Fister? What?
Emergency fist. I didn't see this box. Emergency fisting supplies. Oh, okay. Checking out the wiring down here, you can see this is a pretty simple setup. However, I will give him credit where credit is due. He used arrow slits under each of the blade traps so they could be connected and I'm guessing repaired from down here as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so, you know, for a first go, that's not too bad. He's thinking ahead a little bit. I'll give him credit there. Want to get your big yiff ass out of my way? Thank you. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. We've got a couple of spotlights up there with a little generator powering that. The typical iron bar set out for anybody that does get squirrely and decides to beat on the base, but you know, it's almost Killing Corridor-esque in its design. It's just going to route them, drop them a bit into some blades, and then loop them back around to the front. Theoretically, that should pay off, and in testing so far, it has actually performed fairly admirably. For supplies needed, you know, this is a little bit on the pricier side. I think this is probably cheaper than, say, the Whack-A-Mole Tower, if you're looking at recent videos. Certainly not as expensive as, like, the Out to Sea base was, or, you know, some of the real classics like Alcatraz, or the Toilet. But this is by no means free. I mean, you gotta have a decent amount of concrete here. I'm comfortable with a C on supplies. Any objections?
No, that's about fair.
Could have used less. The balls, the outcroppings here, they probably didn't need to be there. These outer walls here, they were added just on the chance that the Zeds might want to start whacking on these poles, which I have seen in other smaller scale tests I did. So
Okay.
that's just an extra precaution on them. Because if they're hugging the wall around from coming from the back way, they sometimes get hung up on those poles and start
Sure, that
swinging
makes
away.
sense.
So that's why I added those. So that's an extra, possibly not needed supply. But yes, it's you could scale it down a little bit, but I just went all out.
I mean, if you're gonna make this as your outline, I guess by default you're gonna want to go as big as possible, huh?
And also we have previously established that we all like redundancy in designs. So
Fair
you know,
enough.
the outer walls to protect the main pillars that are suspending the things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these can all be placed natively. You can parkour, jump up to the ladders, and drop your turrets or your robotic fisters here without any difficulty. 3 of us each have 2 out. I am the middle blue 2. I'm assuming Duel is the pink one, and that would leave X as the red ones in the back.
I think
Nope,
that's
I'm red.
Davian.
Is that Davian? Okay. All right. So we've got a couple of extra fisters kicking around too. Which, hey, who wants an extra fister?
In case it wasn't clear, the poles here, using a new method I heard of, as somebody told me, the 4 corner posts.
Yes, we're kind of jumping the gun on that one a little bit, but we do have a base designed around this 4-corner pillar setup coming up probably next week. But what this is, rather than being 1 pole and a little more fragile, this is 4 of the corner poles, and you can see that, spun so that they're touching in the center of 4 consecutive blocks. In theory, and I don't know if that'll get a huge workout here, but in theory, that makes that pole 4 times stronger than it otherwise would be. I like that idea. We've built an actual active base, and that'll be a your ship base coming up, based on that idea, and I'm really curious to see what happens when Zeds are punching those poles. So fingers crossed there. Now, for the build difficulty, that one I think I'm going to take down a notch, largely because of the sheer amount of time I know you were working on this. You must have put in a good, I'd say 20 hours on this before we started testing.
It depends on how you want to define the build of this. This build alone took me maybe 2 hours.
Well, yeah, but you had all the little
Sure.
micro variants and concept tests and everything prior,
yeah.
sure.
Wasn't sure how far back you went, but yeah, I have there's a couple builds back there, and I'd say 10 hours. Honestly, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on it.
Okay,
So-
Can I interject here real quick and just say that it took him about 5 years to build this thing finally?
I've had it built in my head for a long time.
He's been looking for a reason to make a big concrete dick. Let's not kid ourselves.
A big dick-shaped fisting device. I've finally created it.
This is Duel's magnum opus right here, no lie.
This is the only base we're ever going to get out of him.
Yeah, it wouldn't
It's a
surprise me.
magnum something.
So,
Hey-oh.
build diff... Oh, God, that took me a second.
It's all right. You're
God
getting
damn
old.
it. Oh, the Mr. Fister. This is
Oh,
my
hey.
life.
Akiva, I don't know if did you get this right here? It's a little small detail that you might not even be aware of.
The safe word is... What does that mean?
Goat. That's a
Oh
scientific
my
term for
God. The safe word is Latin for goat. Holy shit.
I think
I'm going to hell.
But what
We're already
breed of
here.
goat?
What?
I don't think he's picky,
What-
is he?
That is the general wild goat.
I'm just surprised Duel has a safe word.
I mean, just because it's there doesn't mean he's going to heed it. Let's be real. So,
If you
build
wanted the
difficulty, which we're still actually technically on. Build difficulty, what are we thinking? C? C minus? That's fairly average, I think. It's nothing too crazy.
I'm going to say
Yeah.
C minus because it's dual.
Okay, C minus because it's dual.
Yeah, it was 2 hours to build and 8 hours of R&D before that.
Yeah,
If
sure.
it was Duel's build, wouldn't that make it a D?
I hate you
No.
so very much.
Hey guys, in case you didn't know, if you wanted a domesticated goat, you add a purchas to the end of that word, that phrase right there. Just FYI, in case everybody didn't know that.
About that ASMR channel that I'm going to be starting. Fucking hell. What the man on the moon level shit is this? Okay.
Have fun cutting this together.
Moving on.
Hey,
This is going to be the sloppiest, most half-assed edit I've ever done because I'm not going to be able to bring myself to watch some of these things 8 or 9 times to line everything up. This is awful. I cannot believe this is what I'm going to spend my weekend doing.
The outtakes are going to be beautiful, though.
Great.
This whole thing is going to be an outtake. What do you
So, let's see how the Mr. Fister does in a Horde Night is a sentence I thought I would never say.
Mr. Fister.
Oh, yeah.
Why are you singing that?
Was that the Sister theme?
I thought it was Jeepers Creepers.
Oh.
Yeah, I will say, yeah, sister.
There was that show on like the
I know
UPN. It
this
was
show.
Sister.
The-
Wow.
Duel recording this?
Oh, I can be.
Hey, Kiva, we're missing one of your fisters.
What?
What do you mean? There's 2 out there.
Yeah, I see.
I only see one.
One thing I'm kind of worried about here is spit. If the cops get down there and
Yeah.
they can't see, we're gonna get drilled.
It is. This is definitely not built as an AFK. You can shoot your heart's
Oh,
content.
sure. They are
Although
coming
don't-
from
First, we want to watch them
behind.
get fisted.
Well,
Duel, they're
Okay,
coming at
yeah.
your cock from behind.
oh, play with my balls on the way there.
We're getting fucking delisted by YouTube.
Oh yeah.
Fisting! 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 You
is
insisting
awesome.
on a fisting.
Oh, he's
Oh god.
Derp. This is scary effective right now. Dog just goes ass over tea kettle. Burp.
Dunk. That's never gonna get old. As you stand
Oh,
up.
oh, bye.
Oh,
Somebody
Is that a fister?
sucks. I think somebody shot him.
yeah, the fisters don't trigger that.
There goes one of them.
What's that guy doing down there?
Okay. Somebody's beating on something. Oh, hi.
Y'all suck.
Maybe that is setting him off.
Yeah,
we're
that
doing
was.
that
No
one
one
night.
shooting there.
We tested against a huge spawn of demos and not a single one of them went off. It's quiet. Where the hell is the rest of the traffic? Okay, they're coming from the fields but to the south of us. Then there's a lot of shit coming inbound, so I don't think they're having trouble getting to the ramps or getting hung up anywhere.
The stuff that gets knocked off on the outside just kind of sits around in there.
It does leave eventually. Like, I just watched a guy leave, but you do have to keep an eye on that and clean them up. And I think Duel's right when he says it is kind of the trade-off between either boxing them up like that to prevent like the south traffic from dragging behind them, or, you know, well, not south, but the traffic behind us from dragging across them, or doing that and potentially getting somebody trapped in there.
Kind of interesting that no other demos have gone off since.
There's been a couple.
Well, I mean, the first, was there more than 2?
I think it was just the 2.
Hate that.
Yeah, so they
bird
passed those
switching.
guys.
I wonder if they have to be at like the right angle for them
I
to
don't-
get.
Like, Akiba's right. We tested that with a bunch of them.
I mean, at one point I spawned 100 demos in one sitting, and none of them went off. We just sat here and watched them get the shit kicked out of them for like a good 10 minutes.
I did ring a spare blade trap. Do you want me to try and go down and
If you want
slap
to.
it down something?
Yeah, feel free.
Covering fire! Wow, look at all this
that's a
team
problem.
effort on Duel's fisting.
Community fisting.
Did that guy just punch his way out of there?
They've
think
been
so.
punched on that for a while.
Yeah.
No, why don't you
No,
clean
that's
them
what
up?
I-
I'm not looking on that side.
Well, that's X.
I've been shooting them.
You can shoot him in the back.
They're playing in my bushes. No!
Okay,
there's
that
one.
was set off by the piston. No one was shooting at all. This has been a sloppy fisting duel.
That's all I'm good for.
Aren't the best.
I think if I were to remake this, maybe, well, just to make adjustments, I wouldn't do a singular tunnel down the middle. I'd have them offset to the left and right, and then just
Yeah.
wire them that way. You wouldn't be able to. Well, you wouldn't be able to repair them though.
I mean, you haven't been able to repair
Ah.
them tonight anyway, so.
I did the very first one, and then they blew up.
It was nice when they were spawning at the back of the base, they were able to reach around all the way to the front.
Hey.
They just need to stay on the bottom of this thing.
I really love getting it in the ass.
There it is. Hey, Kiva,
What's that?
Good.
see something funny?
What's that? Right out of the blade!
Oh boy.
Oh, bad
Dick.
things are gonna happen. Neverwind will remember that.
No, I'm aware. I don't trust that I can't see Nev.
Gosh, whatever could you have done to engender that relationship?
I have no idea, but it obviously wasn't my fault.
Hi, Nev. He came in fisting hard.
Why can't I?
I
why
like
can't
how this
not
has
do it
turned
like
into
that?
just a fisting duel behind me rather than an actual Horde Night. This is where the action is. These two trying to fist each other aggressively.
Now, something we did find out in testing is that
Akiva likes fisting.
Duel
Yes.
has hepatitis.
yes. Also, number 3.
But it's goat hepatitis. So,
Hepatitis G.
That's pretty serious. If you put a junk turret up, it actually really makes them immune to the fisting.
Yeah,
Really?
that was weird. If they were getting tagged by the junk turrets, the fisters just did nothing. It didn't affect them at all.
Blondie.
Blundy and the fister.
We got 2 blundies.
So is Mr. Fister like
Fister?
his title, or is Blundy just a name? Are they the same thing? Is he Blundy McFister? Like, how's that work out?
Mr.
Well,
Fister
have you
is what
seen
we
the way
refer
he
to.
loads blundies? That should tell you a little bit.
Blunderston
Blundy-
Fistophorus the third?
The
Blondie
Blondie
Bond
expanded.
Fister?
The Blondie expanded universe is a deep trove of many.
Motherfucker,
Yes.
it's like Sonic. You've got 8 woodland creatures just fisting each other. Don't even act up like...
We made a movie about it.
Duel makes this, and yet I'm the one who's always told my bases are sticky.
You spent the last 6 months talking about the Fur fucking Wilderness Adventure Yiff Center, some shit. Like, I don't even want to hear it from you.
Frontier Wilderness Adventure
Shit,
Watchtower.
fucking, I'm going to Zach's laundromat.
No, laundromat. At least there is just regular sexual predators.
No.
Akiva's spidey sense of signal.
Why is everyone standing behind me on the fisting base?
Is that his
Dude.
spidey senses or his fisting senses?
Turn into a Piper Perry screenshot pretty quick here, and I do not consent. Motherfucker.
Oh, you got furry punted.
Shit. Furry punted.
Oh, Duel, you should make more bases. That was you.
So part of the glitching on this was, oh, it's 1 block down, just buried underneath the bottom of this pole. Okay, so that's weird. Okay, so that was the Mr. Fister Horde Night, and I need a shower. So we got that going for us. Let's wrap this up.
Showers are in
Need
the
a
back.
shower and maybe some pain reliever.
Bleach.
Wouldn't a shower in this type of place be of a different sort?
I hate everything so very much. So, durability. Alright, so your underground path here, your vast deferens, I'm going to call it, got a little banged up. But it didn't really impact the function. So they did kind of give you some sort of weird half-ass vasectomy, which I'm okay with. I think probably the government should do that to you to begin with. But in general, the shaft and balls were, still functioning as appropriately, and the Zeds were getting the full-on fisting. So I think the durability here is kind of like B-.
Can I
I've
point
got-
something out really quick?
No?
Yes.
Okay.
Now over here, the quad pillar thing,
Uh-huh.
a good point for it right here.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they beat the shit out of one of them, but the other 3 held up. That is very good news. So look forward to that next week. I think this did a really good job on Zed control. Now, there were a few of them, again, hanging out here in the trench, but that wasn't a huge problem, and they did eventually hop their happy asses back out. They were very, very driven to come back up the ramp and get fisted over and over and over and over again, which I know Duel was real excited to see. I think if no one has any good counter arguments, I think Zed control here was an A. We didn't have any pathing issues all night long. Are the players in danger? Only from Nev and X. So if you don't have Nev and X of your own, then you should be fine. If you do have a Nev and an X, I would recommend getting rid of them as quickly as possible.
If you want to borrow a Nev or an X, just let us know, and we're happy to.
I mean,
stop at
I'll-
anybody's-
We are happy to fist.
I'll tell you, it's a scratch and dent thing, man. They're here because I get a tax break for it. It's Make-A-Wish. But if you want to borrow a heavily used and put away wet Nev and X, then yes, by all means, I can hook you up in a hurry. So resources used, the top generator burned 5, and we did lose those spotlights, I'm assuming, to spit at some point in the evening. The bottom ones, you used 44 in one, and the other one got blown up. So we have kind of an indeterminate tally on resources used. Now, as we were saying during the Horde Night, I think, and what Duel was getting at, was routing the center trench there off to the sides and doing this. I think there are some better ideas you could incorporate into your underground tunnels for wiring and everything. I like the idea of being able to repair them from below, but I don't think that's necessarily mandatory. So
No.
you could build and wire that. I would go like 2 or 3 blocks further down, run your tunnels off to the sides, wire them like that, and you'll be fine. The energy consumption here to run that many blade traps and 2 lights is nominal at best. I don't think that's going to be any problem. For ammunition, I burned 1,605 rounds. Duel, what'd you use?
340.
Not bad. Davian?
618 actually.
That's not too bad either. Nev?
2,220.
X, how about you?
2,427.
So for the evening, that gives us a grand total of 7,215 rounds spent, which is a nice B. I think that's about what I expected for a base like this. The blade traps got fucked up pretty early on. The fisting doesn't do a ton of damage. You kind of shake that off, get some powder and shrink it back up, whatever you want to do. So most of these had to be killed with explosives and bullets. So a B isn't too unacceptable there, I don't think.
When I was testing this as just a single path build, doing it solo on a Horde Night, it was AFK.
Really? Yeah, I can see that.
I had single pole, a single path, 2 poles and 2 fisters up, and it would just keep knocking them down and they loop around. If done right, they seem to path just the same way every time. And with them barely ever dying, it was the same group that kept looping around.
Just
around
looping
each
around,
time.
yes. Especially if you got lucky on your initial spawn there'd be nothing to worry about.
Right. So minimal to no shooting is really required. Especially with us, it's really only for the monkeys or the bird.
Mm-hmm.
If we just sat back and hid the entire time, we probably would have been mostly fine.
Jeez. So the pistons don't really work properly. We had some issues with disappearing fisters. And then we had the
That's just 'cause they
issue.
got locked up in there.
Yeah, and we had the issue, and I don't think any of us was really expecting, and we certainly didn't see it in testing, for the fisting to set off the demos. And that hard confirmed that was doing it. These things were setting off demos, which I hadn't really done any research on prior to our building this, and we hadn't seen any of in testing, so I was really surprised to see it happen. But I don't think the concept is inherently cheesy. They put in the fisters, so this is clearly the kind of thing you're supposed to be doing with them, because as melee weapons, if you're lugging them around, they're kind of eh. I tested them early on, putting them in doorways and stuff while I was raiding houses and whatnot, and they're okay in that capacity, but nothing to write home about. This is clearly the sort of thing that these are designed to do. So I don't think there's any cheese here. Big potato?
Big
Yeah.
potato.
Big potato.
Chance to patch. Now, on the face of it, I don't think that we'd see any kind of exploit patch here. I don't think it would be like a wedge tip thing where they violently get rid of it for being, obviously outside the bounds of what they're trying to let people do. However, I don't think that the turrets are probably 100% safe and clear from ever being played with. I would fully expect there to be in the future at least moderate, if not substantial, changes to the mechanics on these things. Kind of going off of what I was just saying, they work phenomenally well here. Their applications in other uses are kind of, they're okay. So I think we might see some AI changes, some range or distance or power changes. I just don't think these are done. So I would anticipate fister changes coming in the future. So I'm going to say that's moderate. Okay, so for the scorecard recap, supplies needed was a C, build difficulty was a C-, durability was a B-, it did get banged up a little bit, so not a clean A there or anything. Control was an A, player danger was an A, resources was an A, ammo we're going with a B, cheese was a baked potato, and we've got a moderate chance to patch. Final grade.
I'm gonna say B plus.
Yeah.
You
I'm
know,
gonna say B to B plus. Somewhere
I'm
in there.
I'm gonna throw it out back. I think B minus
Okay.
personally, but I'm willing to rationalize it because I think looking at the center being all blown up and the blade traps being all fucked away, I think this is right on the cusp of being amazing, where right now it's good. It's not as safe as it could be. I think the jumping spiders represent a security issue, bird traffic represents a security issue, and the center trench blade trap wiring thing needs to be refined a little bit. That's not to say this is a bad base. I think this is a very good base, but I think it just needs to be tightened up a little bit. If you're going to get fisted, you want to be as tight as possible. Now, that said, coming up, we've got the 4 pillars base that I was talking about earlier. Davian has also been working on one that we're calling the Pirate Ship, which I got to tell you is a really interesting concept, and loops back off of some shenanigans that we discovered in an earlier video, if you remember the door base. So there's finally something on the horizon there taking advantage of that nonsense.
Yeah, spoiler alert, that one's cheese rating is going to be baked brie.
Through the fucking ceiling. And Nev has been pounding away on his fix for last week's chopper design. So
Pounding away.
Pounding away. Fisting, pounding away. We are nothing if not thorough and competent. So we've got, I think, some really interesting shit coming up on the horizon that you're definitely going to want to stick around for, and I see a lot of really good potential in all of these.
Don't forget the
No,
Frontier
I'm forgetting it
Wizard
intentionally. You'll definitely want to stick around for all that. Don't forget, we've got more fresh meat as always. If you're interested in the adventures of our, let's call him Spirited Noob, who is rapidly approaching Horde Night and has yet to do anything that would remotely resemble preparing for it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. That about wraps it up for this week. As always, we appreciate you guys watching, and we will catch you next time.